Scenes from The Bear that trigger my PTSD. Every time I watch The Bear, the sounds really stand out as something that takes me right back to the anxiety of the kitchen. Pots and pans, yelling, timers beeping, alarms going off. Sometimes you just need a moment of silence. It really resonates with me when Sydney took a moment to make this omelet as a quick break from the chaos. She reminded herself why she loved cooking in the first place, as an act of service, which is really core to the reason why I enjoy cooking for people as well. That's why I've done so many cooking for stranger videos on my channel. I low-key felt seen by Carmi getting locked in the freezer. I used to hide out in the freezer all the time when I needed a mental health break. One of my biggest fears was getting locked in there and being frozen to death. Leave it to the bear to show my worst nightmare come to life. Did the bear give anyone else an irrational fear of being locked in the freezer? Let me know in the comments. Scenes from The Bear that give me PTSD. My therapist tells me to face my fears head on, so I decided to make a dish from one of the most stressful episodes in television history. When I was working in my family restaurant in Florida during the pandemic, we were trying to get with the times, so I suggested we start using toast to keep track of our orders. One dinner shift, toast went down for about an hour. It was traumatizing. We had to write all the orders down by hand, only take cash payments or beg customers for IOUs. Eventually, Toast came back online with over 100 orders that all need to be fulfilled all at once, just like the review episode of The Bear. Luckily, I didn't have Carmi screaming at me, just the customers and my parents. The customers had to wait, but eventually everything got done. We just lost some money and mental health along the way.
Thank you, Chef.
I'm just happy nobody got stabbed. Scenes from The Bear that trigger my PTSD. If you've ever worked at a restaurant or watched The Bear, you know that family meal is a great way of bringing the staff together while getting rid of leftover ingredients in the kitchen. One day, I accidentally ordered way too much Wisconsin cheese curd from Cisco, and TLDR, the whole staff had no choice but to eat an egregious amount of cheese every family meal for about 2 weeks. I think everybody hated me, but my therapist says that's just my anxiety speaking. I love watching characters on The Bear take moments away from the chaos and enjoy a meal together, especially the scene with Mikey's tomato sauce. Let me know in the comments if you think smaller cans taste better. Let it rip. Scenes from The Bear that trigger my PTSD. Everyone knows that running a restaurant is tough business. I definitely felt Carmi's desperation when he tried to use the restaurant to host a bachelor party to get himself out of debt. I once tried turning our restaurant into a nightclub. I hired a DJ, I got a promoter, and I even crafted a special tiki cocktail. Let's just say it wasn't worth it, and it never is. People trashed the place. They danced on the tables, they puked in the bathroom, and they got into fights with each other. In the end, we lost a ton of money, and I unfortunately had to clean up a lot of puke. No one ended up in jail. Well, at least I didn't. Does anyone else talk about The Bear in therapy? Let me know in the comments. Scenes from The Bear that give me PTSD. Have you ever had to fire someone? It's not fun. I'm making this dish from The Bear Season 2 finale when Marcus had to fire one of the employees. I was working in my family restaurant in Florida when one of our employees was super erratic. She was a little off, one might say. I ignored all of the red flags until one day a customer told me that she found a needle and a spoon in the bathroom. Long story short, we found out this employee was doing, let's call it math, in the bathroom. When this happened in The Bear Season 2, I felt too seen for my own comfort. Are they watching me? At least for me, it wasn't on opening day, and I wasn't about to debut a new dish like the savory cannoli from the show. Kids, don't do math. Scenes from The Bear that trigger my PTSD. If you've watched The Bear, you can probably tell that working in restaurants is extremely stressful. It's so physically and mentally intense that sometimes you just need to numb yourself to get through the shifts. In my restaurant days, I find myself smoking almost every day, just like Carmi. Except it wasn't cigarettes. Let's just say I was gardening. Watching Carmi and Cousin basically chain smoke in between shifts while making the beef sandwiches took me right back to that feeling. Now, it's almost been 7 months since my last smoke break. And just like Carmi, it wasn't easy for me. I couldn't stop thinking about it at first, but I stuck with it. And I'm happy I'm on this journey. It sounds simple, but food tastes better now, and I get better sleep. Overall, I feel more. So maybe smoking is kinda bad. Scenes from The Bear that give me PTSD. Have you ever been laid off? It's not a great feeling. One of the most recent episodes of The Bear hit too close to home. It focused on one of my favorite characters, Tina, getting laid off from her job. She loved having stability and a daily routine. Her identity and her self-worth were tied directly to her career, so of course she was devastated. I got laid off after 6 years at my company. It caused me to spiral so badly that I went to go see a psychic, but that's a story for another day. Tina takes a risk and starts working at the beef restaurant despite Mikey telling her it's a chaotic place where people are always yelling at each other. My version of this is to bet on myself and focus on being a full-time content creator. Not sure if you've heard, but the internet tends to be a chaotic place where people are always yelling at each other too. I'm just hoping things work out for me as it did for Tina, so don't let this video flop. Scenes from The Bear that trigger my PTSD. My therapist says I should not let my perfectionism hold me back. What do you think? One of the funniest moments in the new season was when Maddie was told to serve the broth in front of the customers. This reminded me how hard it was to delegate anything at the restaurant. I'm super specific about everything. I would get frustrated if the kitchen didn't pump the exact amount of ranch in takeout containers, or if the bartenders didn't line up the bottles of liquors with the labels facing out, or if the server forgot to take the menu back from the customers. Am I in the wrong? I have been called neurotic. On a side note, if a bougie restaurant charges me $200 and serves me broth poured over raw carrots, celery, and onions, I'm throwing hands.